Welcome back, everyone. Game 2 is just about upon us. Jingdong versus Top. And the question is, who is going to take it? Trading punches between the two teams because Jingdong now need to catch up to Suning, who upset Rogue Warriors earlier today, to now put themselves 2 games ahead of Jingdong. They will be playing in the e-commerce wars later this week. But before that, they have to try to catch up in the standings so that they can equalize when that match comes upon them.
Yep, points matter, ladies and gentlemen. You need to be able to take them. Most important, once the e-commerce war does end up happening, you got to take the 2-0 just A, for dominance sake.
Yeah.
But B, of course, if you do ever find yourself matching in terms of just the scoreline, the standings, head-to-head matters, points matter, everything matters at that point. So we're getting to that finish line. We're getting near it. And right now, Jingdong have to be thinking ahead.
2 weeks to go. A grand total of 12 game days. 13 real lifetime days before we know. Not fake time, not game time. Real time.
Real time.
Real time. Until we know which teams we will be sending to playoffs. And then the week after, we'll begin our own. But that said, TOP, they have already been eliminated. They are trying so hard. Goodness, help them, they are. But they just cannot get any momentum.
Yeah, momentum's a big point. Learning how to play together is another, because we have some real veterans on the side of TOP. Sure, there's the new faces of Phage, Chocho, Karn, in terms of just raw, general competitiveness, like being in the LPL or just in top-tier play for years. Not there for them, but it is there for Korn and Marin, which is why I'm a bit surprised that Korn is lacking in terms of playing towards, at the very least, the basics of the composition. You gotta, either it's just lacking understanding in that sense, or I'd just say lacking of communication there. Because if Marin's taking these proper trades 2 times in a row, that he was just chop and zoom up. And then both times it was sure Karn moving up there, but Korn should be doing the same, especially if he's picking up the Karma, which is great later on in team fight, but if it's in the laning phase, Karma is great for being able to get that first roam as well.
And I love that you bring up the fact that it was Karin who is responding to Marin's calls, whereas you contrast that with Jingdong Klid taking a much more active role in chasing down these kills beforehand. You can clearly see he's the one who's setting the pace and communicating with his team, able to get to these fights either first or almost immediately after Karin does.
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like Klid and Yagao, that relationship, Karin and Core see it. They're looking across the room and it's like, that's what we want to be. We want to be able to get to that point, but we are nowhere near it right now.
You're absolutely right. Looking across to try to see what they want, but not quite able to claim it for themselves. That said, pick and ban is upon us. TOP versus Jingdong. 2-13 for the likes of Topsports Gaming. And Jingdong on the other side, 7-8, trying to catch up to Suning, trying to keep pace for that final playoff spot. They are only 1 game behind if they close out this game against TOP here and now. But already, you can see the Karma has been banned away, and Galio immediately locked in. We were talking about getting Korn a roaming champion. Well, how's that?
Yep, a roaming champion works well for his style, and it's honestly the most contested pick between both of these teams. Yagao's looked beautiful on it. He's been incredibly active on the map, and a lot of Jingdong's recent plays have just been around finding him out of the lane. Galio has some bad lane matchups, but if you get out of it, if you're able to get one gank towards that lane, suddenly you can never pin him down. He has TP, he's able to constantly impact both side lanes. This time around, it's in Korn's pockets.
And look at the response from Jingdong. Immediately going for the solo lanes, taking Gnar away from Marin, and then Vladimir away from Yagao. There is no feigning flexes or maybe we'll take this, maybe we won't. No, that's Jingdong saying, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
Good luck.
Yeah, this is legitimately our solo lanes.
Yeah.
Pick up the Gnar just because it's taking it away from Marin. That being said, Marin has some very strong picks up against Gnar. Kennen comes to mind. Good matchup here for the Kennen, so I feel like that's going to be a case. And if it goes into the second phase, Jingdong might ban it out, putting that into the back of your head.
Ooh.
But JDG, the Vladimir is surprising to me because you picked it up so early. That's a blind, or at least it's not a blind pick. They know they're going up against Galio. But Vladimir is so much stronger recently just because the Resolve tree is so much better now. The Resolve tree giving yourself bone plating easily so you can then go into secondary if you want to and get bone plating second win if you'd love. and then you can go up against any lane, and you can come out pretty healthily. You'll find yourself being topped up quite well.
And take a look at the answer from TOP. Again, the Caitlyn very early pickup from Chocho for the AD carry, and then a Scion locked in for what looks to be Marin in the top lane. He's stolen Barons with it. He's spat Rift Heralds back to base. And now he's going to have to stand and protect Chocho in this game.
Yeah, another team fighting style coming in from TOP. And the fact that now it's going to be Marin playing up the Scion means we need to see him be a lot more impactful in the team fights. Now, Scion's decent in the laning phase going up against the Gnar. It's decent just because Gnar, once again, we talked about it a lot, mid-range, top laner, and mini Gnar. It's going to have a tough time going up against the Q of Scion that has a really good range up against it. If you're auto-attacking as a Gnar, then you're in range of Scion Q. So a lot of poke is there in favor of Marin. Just really big question is whether he takes the Sorcery Tree primary or if he goes Glacial Augment a secondary.
One more for the lane, one more for the team fight. Of course, we'll get to see that once we get into that game one. Varus is the answer for RD. Again, AD carry, great shred for these massive tanks. Also a Guinsoo's builder that could give some early and mid transition power. As Camille and Nocturne are the bans away from TOP. Jingdong looks like they don't want anyone to be diving their back line as TOP are trying to eliminate safe supports from Jingdong.
The Nocturne is a smart ban just because recently we've been seeing a lot of Nocturne Galio composition. I've only seen it once in the LPL, but it's been played in the LDL as well, where suddenly Nocturne's back in the meta. Well, what works well with Nocturne? If he just goes right into the composition, right into the back line, have Galio back him up while it's still you're in darkness with the extra 2 more seconds that he got from the buff. That's a really strong combination as the game goes on. So I love the fact that they just outright denied that for Karin.
That said, we do see Kha'Zix quickly responding, taking Glid taking Kha'Zix in the jungle in order to catch people out once again. He was so great at setting up vision for his team and enabling them to find proper position around that Baron. Correct position, I should say. But that means that Braum will be allowed to be picked up by TOP. Not too many other supports to look at.
Jungle is still left up. Karin can just go straight towards the Olaf because it's been left up. And Olaf is done really well up against the Kha'Zix just because of how fast he can path. He can clear up Raptors really well. He can clear out the Krugs incredibly quickly. And he can get towards the next location before Kha'Zix. And Kha'Zix's great trading pattern when he goes up against an enemy jungler is getting to that camp first so he gets the first jump. That being said, it's not going to be the Olaf.
Jarvan is the answer for Karin. Perhaps able to lock down and pin down that Varus in these team fights. So already you could see the quick change up from Mao. Looking at Bard, perhaps something a bit safer.
Yeah, the switch up, I guess, from Olaf to the Jarvan is just for team fight simplicity. They already have the Jarvan, and we've seen a lot of Jarvan Galio compositions in the past. So it seems like TOP has recognized, sure, Olaf is great for the solo matchup, but why not just pick towards the team fighting if we just need that direction?
There's still a lot of threat from that mid-jungle duo of TOP. If Karin decides to take a more active role in this game too in trying to affect his lanes, that's a lot of damage once Galio and Jarvan are able to find a position, and we know how much Marin likes to roam down towards mid from that top lane. That being said, Jingdong, they've already showed us great communication in Game 1. Can they do it again and keep themselves safe from that mid-jungle in Game 2?
You'd have to think so. This team has looked so well the last game. And now Lumao's picked up the Taric for himself. Right now, Jingdong Gaming really confident about the solo lane matchup, or actually duo lane matchup. The Varus and the Taric should do quite well into Caitlyn Braum. Taric specifically into Braum. Of course, the biggest selling point of Braum is the fact that you can get the door up, but guess what goes past the door?
Arrows?
Well, yeah, arrows. Sure, that's fun.
Dazzle.
Yeah, Dazzle.
Yeah,
there
okay.
we go. Yeah, Dazzle. Forgot the name. I was just about to call it the sparkly linear thingamajigger.
The old Razzle Dazzle.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Love that name. Yeah, good dual lane matchup for the side of JDG. And also bringing in the Kha'Zix as well means that Jingdong's composition isn't a secret. Immediately you know exactly what they want to do with the Kha'Zix. If you can't work with the Vladimir, that 2v2 looks weak. Maybe if the Gnar gets a trade, he can go top lane, but primarily there's such a strong setup in the bottom side of the map. I feel like he goes there immediately.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on these junglers and how they decide to affect their side lanes over the course of this game, too, because it is so very vital. Jingdong, they win this one. They close out the series. Then they will be one single win behind the likes of Suning, who took a win earlier today. That match will be between the two teams, Jingdong and Suning, next Sunday. But that said, Jingdong not falling prey to the trap game like Rogue Warriors did. And we have entered onto the Rift for Game 2.
Hey, Rusty.
Again, that is the manager for Jingdong. Very passionate fan for the team and the org as well. And it clearly shows that it's been working for the team. Now 1-0 over TOP. Strong performances lately. They just need to close out the rest of the season to lock themselves into playoffs and start to look towards the postseason.
Yeah, and of course, you can tell cameras locked on both Klid and Yagao. I guess it's just going throughout the entire team. But I would say Klid and Yagao, this has been important for them. Been really working well with Klid. And when they started bringing in Xiaohan, I was wondering if that was going to work out well for them because, yeah, sure, Xiaohan has the synergy with RD just because they were in previous team of Legend Dragon, but that is an awkward, I would say, synergy to have, jungle AD carry, unless if you're just literally camping the bottom side of the map.
Yeah.
And Klid worked so well with the team primarily just because, sure, he's aggressive, but also just because he worked well with every mid laner that's been on the team.
Yeah, he's been a legacy player for Jingdong.
Yes.
Previously, he was best buds with Doinby when Doinby was still on JD. Of course, now he is on Rogue Warriors. Is that a bit of a cheese gank going towards the mid lane? Karin, what you thinking, bud? Ooh, Flash immediately gets Yagao out of there.
Hate to see it happen. Every single time you know that just off of champions like Jarvan's on the opposite side, you're like, wait a minute, I know exactly what's going to happen, but you're basically telling me to play passively just because a Jarvan can level 2 me.
That's domination first. Electrocute Galio with sudden impact. Holy cow, that's going to do a lot of damage with the Justice Punch if this is actually going to be a full damage Galio. They've got the Jarvan, they've got Braum, they've already got Sion. Might as well, as level 2 quickly picked up.
Yeah, just committing to the laning phase. Of course, we've seen every Galio mid lane build from I guess the buff, just so he gets more damage. He does go towards the damage build regardless. I wonder if he goes Rod of Ages, but I think that just because, yeah, I'd say he goes Rod of Ages regardless, actually. He goes Rod of Ages and he's going to go up against Rigao, which is great trading patterns right there. So I think that it's very telling that Karin and Korn are looking to just focus towards the mid lane and see if they can push Yagao out of lane.
And again, it's that mid-jungle synergy for Jingdong that we were talking about. Klid and Yagao, who have really provided the new identity for this team ever since Doinby has left. And RD has now come in as the AD carry. That said, Karin and Korn trying to show their own mid-jungle synergy by ganking and burning that flash. Perhaps they've got a window to take advantage of that, though now that Vladimir does have a Sanguine pool.
And you would need that synergy to work out with this specific composition just because it's so centered around Galio Jarvan.
Yeah.
It really is centered around that mid lane jungle. And if it's not going to be in the early portions of the game, it's going to be much later on. So with the weakness that Korn had in the last game of making the movements fairly late, it is cushioned up by the fact that he doesn't have to move that much before his ulti is in range. So that's nice to see, and it's going to be in the back of his head to start moving around. So top lane is going to be a nice one just because Jarvan has the damage that you would think would be lacking. Now, of course, going Electrocute, Galio has that to follow. So top lane, dive on towards Gnar. They aren't lacking damage, surprisingly.
It would absolutely be a big bada boom if they ever find someone out of position. Marin's even taking Comet for even that little bit extra. Wasn't the Aerie, it was the Comet. Oof. That's a lot of pain, though Karin, thinking of coming bottom, has been pinged out a lot by JD. They immediately back away and show that they know he's there.
Yeah, the two primary rune, or at least keystones for the Sion is the Glacial Augment and the Comet. Yeah. Comet just because if you're in a matchup where you can get the poke working for yourself, then you would love to have it. Tank matchups is great for, of course, Glacial Augment because you can get the auto attacks and you can secure your queued knockup. But since he's going up against Mininar, most likely, more often than not, he's at a range deficit. So being able to have the damage off your E is much better for the side of Marin.
And again, that's especially more prominent considering that Marin is the most ganked top laner in the entire league. Despite playing about half as many games as any other top laner, he's still ganked nearly twice as many times as any other laner.
We've seen a lot of video footage, a lot of interviews when teams go up against DLP. They're not hiding it.
Yeah.
Every single time they're like, we're just focusing top lane. That's really all it is.
I mean, we even heard from Zoom just before getting into game 1. I just want to have a good lane.
Yeah. Funny enough, in fact, before Marin even joined the team, they were still a top lane center team. They had Moyu in the top lane, and he ate up a lot of gold percentage for the team. In fact, he was playing a lot of GP, just a lot of carry top laners, and they were hoping to get a lead for him.
Oh, Clid, he's going to be caught by the shield of Durand. A double electrocute first blood Corn.
Well, that's the damage you have when you have double electrocute in that matchup. So yeah, Clid got obliterated.
Meanwhile, trading in the bottom lane as RD stepped on a trap, unable to chase Chocho.
Look, what's even worse about this is the fact that Corn went towards the extra AP. Knowing that he's going to be going towards Rod of Ages, he's like, I don't need the catalyst for longer laning phase to throw out abilities. I don't need that. I just need to just punch somebody. That's it. So he gets the opportunity. You saw what it turned into.
That is first blood going to the mid laner of TOP, already looking to change things around, though Yagao trying to claim early lane control. 225 damage with that blood rush already.
You can see the problems, of course, before we look towards the top lane. I don't think it turns into much. Yeah, you can throw him around. I don't believe
Mar
it.
into the wall. He's perhaps trying to wait out the timer on this Mega so that he can win this trade. Corrupting Potion charges have been stacked up. Marin doesn't have any more to go as Zoom picks up the boomerang.
Look, this is what's going to happen in the top side. I don't trust it unless if Kha'Zix gets there for the dive. So that's just a Zoom setting up for a dive and hoping that Marin stays underneath tower. But he has corrupting potions that he's burning through. So wait a minute, where's Marin going?
He's getting honey fruit.
Oh damn, there we have it. I guess he's topped up going back top lane. So that being said, I want to focus on the mid lane portion just because of what the trade was happening through. Yagao having Crimson Rush, extra bit of damage on top of Corn. Now Corn running Resolve secondary, he has bone plating for himself. Bone plating, while it's great, you look at the numbers and you're like, that's incredible. I'm like legitimately saving myself 20 to 50 damage as it levels up. Throughout the lane, throughout the game, I'm picking it up. But it has a long cooldown, so you can actually bait it quite well. So Vladimir can get an auto attack across, burn bone plating, and then he can get that trade off in the next run. So it's actually not as strong in the laning phase just because of that. You can play around it quite well.
And this is where we look to Yagao to step up as the mid laner for the likes of JD. As RD might be going low here. Stun has been procced. He uses an early barrier, but Chocho eats the hail of arrows. Mao still stepping forward. His piercing arrow will miss.
The thing about Taric is that you think you got RD, but he gets the heal and the shield on top of it. They're going all in.
Being traded. Dazzle will once again hit. Another hail of arrows, and Mao gets a kill. RD will eat a stun, but Phage is walking his way back to the turret. He's got flash, but decides to just walk it off.
The one reason TOP were surprised about that was the level up. They didn't expect RD and Mao to level up right there. That gave Mao the extra bit of mana. He didn't have the mana to go for the fight beforehand. But the moment he levels up, they're able to just get that extra bit of terrain, a little bit of damage to take down.
Steps forward, flash, dazzle, auto attack, and it's a solo kill. I'm so sorry, a double. Cosmic Insight is going to keep RD alive. Corn steps in, but he has no flash. Yagao matches this, and remember, that's not very tanky. Winds of War with the assassination.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, that was funny. He thought he was safe. He was like, all right, I'm
fine.
I'm gonna help in the one way I can. I'm charging up an arrow, except it's the same damn range. Of course, Galio's cute. He's close enough.
Good attempt. RD's gonna have to sit and think about his mistake as Dragon immediately started on Clid. You can see Yagao is there too, trying not to give it away. Finally, a ward over the wall will spot this, and Karin level 7 to the level 6 of Clid. Could be getting into a bit of a smite war.
Yeah, they won't see the HP unless he actually uses
Karin's
face.
Over the wall. Yeah, he's using his face to get in there. He's still got flash, but that's a big cooldown, Clid. He's got Piltover Peacemaker and the headshot, but smite secure for Clid.
That was a close one. That being said, Karn didn't know what HP the Dragon was at, so he was taking a gambit, checking if it was low enough so he can walk up slowly, get an auto attack. The passive and Jarvan auto attack is good enough execute. That being said, looking at the fight, really unfortunate the Phage got the last hit on that one, and RD stays alive long enough. The big takeaway, of course, is that RD still dies because he tries to help out, but it doesn't matter because they were still in a good enough position that even if RD dies, they can still look towards the dragon. So it was still a good enough setup and a good enough fight before that point in which Jingdong were able to take an advantage.
I love how in the slow-mo there, you could see the panic in his eyes of, oh, I've made a mistake.
I wonder when he realized that was an electrocute Galio.
Galio, yeah.
Was it in Champions? Or at least like afterwards? Did he press tab just then to realize that I just got blown up?
Oh, wait. That's full Rod of Ages.
Yeah.
Electrocute Galio for some big damage.
Love
Bit
it.
of a tragedy, but he's still holding his own against Chocho in that bottom lane. 10 minutes in, and we're seeing a slight gold advantage for JD, and they've taken that Mountain Dragon, which should help transition on towards neutral objectives a little bit later on, but JD, they've just been playing their laning phases, responding to the ganks of TOP.
Yeah, major
That's where we've
focus.
seen the excitement.
Major focus on the side of Clay was bottom side of the map, but while all of that was happening, Zoom got himself a considerable lead in the matchup just through CS. They're going in for this game.
Teleport, Cataclysm catches them both. There's no ultimate ready yet from Mao. RD will burn down to the Winds of War. Double kill for TOP as 4 members show up bottom.
That was just a simple enough timing flashes. They knew the flashes were down because of the last fight. And you know what happened? Double TP. Didn't even need to use Marin. They were able to enter the fight from that point. They needed that fight just because of how poorly these lanes were working out for them. If they were put in the same position, trying a lane, and just answering to Jingdong time and time again, they're going to lose a bottom lane tower. They don't allow that to happen, and now they're back in control of this game.
Yeah, about to take a bottom lane tower themselves. You can see Klid is on his way to try and defend. That's a big minion wave. Caitlyn with the BF sword and double dagger. Does some damage, but not enough, as even Yagao is brought over to defend it. Finally, the bottom lane should be making its way back over, but that means Korn is able to get damage on the mid lane tier 1. It's just an effective play for TOP to get themselves back on the board. Question is, can they convert it into an actual tempo advantage and start to take control of the pace?
I think it should be a good position for TOP, especially since the RD decided not to complete his Rage Blade. He wasn't near it, and he didn't want to go towards the AP. In fact, decided that he was going to expend his gold on the Ninja Tabi. So they're now not really looking towards RD for his item spike, and now deciding they need a lot more time before they can rely on RD's damage. So they're not only going to be on the back foot in terms of tempo, but also in terms of just raw items. So right now, TOP's been in the best position they've had all series long.
Now we'll have to see if they can convert off of it. Mountain Dragon was already taken earlier. The only big neutral objective is Rift Herald, and the remaining tier 1's bottom has already been chipped low, and you can see Karin making his way down to that side already, though it seems Jingdong have done the math that I could not. They already set up wards on this bottom half and are contesting ward after ward just to make sure it's safe to defend that tier 1.
It's just unfortunate now Phage does not have a control ward for himself. No control wards in the bottom side of the map. Jarvan has one, but if he wants to impact the bottom side, he has to show himself to do just that. Now he is seen, so wonder what his move is from this point. Guess he's decided to use his control ward for this bush specifically. I would love to have his control ward in the tri-bush bottom lane just so he has a freer access there in that lane.
And you know, it's actually kind of interesting. We talk about the fact that Marin is the most ganked top laner in the league.
Yep.
I don't think he's been ganked once this series in that top lane. Maybe 1 or 2 odd times out of these games, but so far these teams have largely been playing around jungle positioning for each other and mid lane and bottom.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of focus was there in the top lane of the game, in the first game. It's just because TOP is forcibly changing the tone of the matchup by saying that we are a bottom lane focused team. 2 games in a row going back towards the Caitlyn and deciding that they want to play towards that means that RD, or at least the side of Jingdong, need to play towards that. That being said,
they're getting ready for a dive. Chains of Corruption and a quick dazzle. Chocho looks to finish off the turret, but Karin will sacrifice his life for it. Meanwhile, trading in the top lane as Marin is dueling it out with Zoom. You can already see the ultimates have been used between each other. Flash from Marin in order to escape. Zoom still has his own. Doesn't go for the hyper proc, but the bottom tier 1, first brick, goes to TOP.
Not going to end here. Right now, TOP, they just want this pick.
RD is very far forward, back against the wall. Dazzle only going to catch the support. Winter's Bite onto Mao. That's teleport. That's going to get Marin down to that bottom lane, fresh out of the base. Cosmic Radiance gets Mao away from this one. He's running away, and Chocho with the ignite and the burn finally goes down to Klid. Meanwhile, Marin stunned. Hero's entrance. Knockup doesn't catch anyone.
But Yagao's here, so now TOP can't even follow that. They even had the Galio there with Flash as well, so the option was available for them if they wanted to follow through with just Korn's damage. But because Yagao roams that early on, now is Jingdong still pressuring towards this tower?
Right to dazzle as Zoom is trying to break down the top tier 1. Looking for not 1 but 2 turrets to trade over for the one that was taken from them. Zoom will be able to push. And like you said, no TP, though Yagao is holding the fort down in the bottom lane. They decide to back away. RD. Oh, eats a knockup, and the Comet slowed. Karn's almost there. Knockup, but he flashes back. Cataclysm, there's no turret for you to run to. RD gets spat a minion by Marin.
Gets hit in the gut by a minion. That's unfortunate.
The gut check.
Yeah, unfortunate, but good play from Marin because he was losing so much on the top side of the map that he needed to make something happen right then and there. So good play from him just to catch RD sleeping.
And that he did. 5 to 4 in kills when it's all said and done already. You can see the lane swap has begun. Chocho and Phage heading up top. Looks like Mao might be heading back bottom. He's thinking about it.
Right now, Jingdong do need to answer this top lane wave just because of RD falling down. It does mean that they lose a lot of tempo. They have to answer to Chocho's pressure.
Look at the damage that Yagao is taking. That's Seeker's arm guard as well for Korn as he builds his way towards Zanya's.
He's got himself to a respectable position.
He has.
The fact that he was able to impact the bottom side, it at least denied the play from happening from Jingdong, even if he couldn't find himself an active play of his own. Still has flash available to him, so that just means that TOP can look to play around his taunt flashes. So that's a play that's available, and they have enough damage on the composition, specifically from Karin, to back that up. Since he's gone towards, looks like Black Cleaver.
Plus the BF Sword static shiv from Chocho. We thought it would be a handful of tanks, and then once again prioritizing the hyper carry of Chocho, but TOP with their runes and itemization showing that they all want to do damage if they ever find anyone out of position.
Yeah, but they still have to play around their CC.
Yeah.
They don't have the consistent damage up against Jingdong. Jingdong still have the Vladimir, still have the Black Cleaver Gnar, and also Rageblade just got picked up by Varus. So at this point in time, if there's ever an elongated fight, it's going to be in favor of Jingdong. But if Korn can get that one pickup, if he gets a flash taunt of somebody, then of course that's very easy for them to just blow up RD, blow up Yagao. It's going to look good for them.
Chocho's now pushing all the way up to the top tier 1. Mao and RD are being zoned away by traps. The wave crashes, but it's 3 versus 2. Like you said, Hero's entrance. Korn has his finger on the trigger. Klid should have been spotted there as he starts trying to move through the wards.
Just good reaction from Jingdong as a whole, because it was not only Yagao that was looking to rotate, but Klid was there as well. So if it was TOP that pulled the trigger, they were definitely going to suffer from it.
Klid instead moves up towards the mid lane to help Yagao clear it out. Meanwhile, Karin will ping onto that Rift Herald. He still feels like he's got the numbers advantage with Korn in the mid lane and his top lane pushed in.
Ooh. That's the thing with the composition TOP have. Because technically they want to be on the offensive the moment they get the opportunity, but with how good Tark is up against that composition, they just have to recognize when Jarvan wants to press the button. If they see Jarvan right in front of them, they can preemptively use the ultimate, recognizing that Galio is going to be soon to follow, and there's no way the burst comes through from TOP. So with how burst-reliant TOP is in their fights, the one champion that's there to counter all of that is Tark, and he needs to be addressed immediately.
Getting that Cosmic Radiance off in time to keep RD alive. You can even see he opted for Barrier instead of Heal to try to last just that little bit longer. No amount of damage reduction or healing denial would prevent that. So still, these teams know each other at this point. We do have a 1,300 gold advantage for TOP as we get closer towards that 20-minute mark. Next Dragon will be Infernal, but we did just see that Ocean get taken.
And to your point, that's hilarious. The fact that Tarek can always top up his own laners. He has the heal for himself. He has the tier, which we see a lot from Tarek, just to be able to consistently heal up the Varus if he gets poked. So what do you do if you're TOP? You're trying to get a dive on towards the tower, but you're like, maybe we could poke down, chip out RD, except the fact that he's consistently getting healed. And then if we decide to ever go all in, then you lose out because the shield's coming in there from Guardian and you have the ulti from Tarek.
That's the Cataclysm, and that's the combo you talked about. All of the burst is denied by the Cosmic Radiance, but they still follow it up, and they're able to kill RD. Chocho following with the auto attack, gets another kill. As the support goes down, Yagao chases in, gets a lot of health back, but has to flash away from the concussive blows. Zoom enters the fight, but it's too little too late. Yep,
they worked fast enough so the TP from Zoom didn't matter. In fact, they were in such a healthy position, they could even look to dive Zoom now.
Now looking for this mid-tier 1. Jingdong finding themselves on the back foot here.
5 members gone. I wonder if they're going to stay, just because the wave is going to take some time before it comes back here. In fact, they're going to back away, but that was such a good concept, good idea, good fight from TOP, because they still went straight for RD and Mao, even though that was going to be a long time before the damage was going to settle in. They just recognized TOP, at least the TP, takes so long to come in from Zoom, and no one else in Jingdong actually recognized the play was going to happen when it happened. So easily able to get 2 members just for that play.
That's going to further set RD behind. You can see he's 30 CS behind Chocho now, as he tries to build towards that wit's end, but Infinity Edge might be ready. Nope, it's just pickaxe boots 2 for Chocho, so at least there's some time. Meanwhile, Klid just trading and skirmishing with Korn. But Rift Herald is now gone, so at least that threat is gone.
So take a look at this. They're trying to get the control ward. Jingdong. Kha'Zix is not going to take any part of this fight just because he needs a few more members. Vladimir finally comes in, but by the time Vladimir's there, by the time Nar is there, the fight's already over. That's why I don't want to see the end of the replay.
That's good, because that was the end of the replay.
Good. No more of it.
Mid-tier 1 now going to be the target for TOP as they are pushing in. It's back to the same exact strategy, Raz. The Galio on the side lane, 1-3-1 for TOP as they continue to try to deny vision, look for it. I was remarkably disrespectful from Klid to stand in that brush that he knew was warded and try to fire out some harass.
They thought they were safe. I think that's the main takeaway, is that they had 3 members there, and that's usually a good enough number count just to be like, all right, take this control ward out so we have good vision here. But it was the side of TOP that's really focusing on those control wards and using it as to their own advantage, saying that we have 4 members here. They have no vision of us. They're never going to have vision in this area. So all in on that scenario, that's something that TOP is probably going to recycle, utilize time and time again. It's going to be on Jingdong to find a creative way to get around it.
Well, split pushing seems to be the answer for now. Yagao pushing all the way up to the top tier 2 as Zoom finally finishes off that bottom tier 1. To break open the map by Karin. Once again, he's paired with Fate. He's paired with Chojo. Could try to break down the turret, and they do.
Here's the thing. You said that the split push is going to be the answer. I agree with you. Looking at the composition of TOP, there's not one member that's going to be able to answer Zoom on the side lane. That's why I would have much rather seen him go towards a Frozen Mallet this time around. Want to see him go double it AD, in a sense. 2 damage items before he goes towards his Randuin's Omen to deal with the crit that Chocho's been dishing out. Because then, suddenly, how do you deal with a side lane matchup of Nar going up against an AP Galio and a Scion that's not dealing any damage at this point? I think that's a clear win condition for the side of Jingdong up until the point that Yagao gets TP for himself and then puts himself in the side lane. So 1-3-1 is possible for Jingdong, but I think a 1-4 is very viable just because of Zoom's position.
For now, it looks like they are going to try to stick to that 1-3-1 just so they maintain vision across the entire map, but the next neutral objective is up in just a minute. Infernal Dragon is going to be back on the map already. 2 dragons under the wings of Jingdong. All they need are a few more before they can lock down one of the most powerful Elder Dragons in the game.
It feels like a bait, man. It really does. It feels like a bait.
Infernal Dragon, get it. Well, like you said, they need to look for a way to find an opening. Perhaps that could be it. Bait TOP out of position.
That's the thing, though. I feel like it's going to be baiting Jingdong out of position because they already have 2 dragons for themselves. Obviously, they want the 3rd, but they're not in position to take the 3rd. If they move towards that wide open field of the river, and if they try to go for dragon, guess who's willing to take that fight? 100% TOP. They have the gold lead for themselves, 2K right now in the lead.
Infinity Edge just finished for Chocho.
Exactly. The damage is there from TOP. They want this fight to happen to burst this game wide open.
Now, TOP, previously Dan Gaming, was well known for their aggressiveness in taking neutral objectives as they spawn. They were the Baron team, obsessed with it.
Here we go.
But this time it looks like they're obsessed with the kills instead. Yagao is the target. Winter's Bite locks him up. He turns towards Karin, Dazzle for the stun, but he's not able to get too much damage. Chunks him down to half for the slow. Ghost has been used and runs out. He still goes in. Yagao versus the world. Knock up onto RD, but Yagao still chases. Klid in the back line, scares the rest of them back as Marin will split Klid away from his team.
And that's just true fear right there. TOP, the moment they spot Tart, they know that they cannot commit to a continuous fight. They thought they got the pick on towards Yagao. They couldn't even burn his flash. They recognized they needed to back out of there because Jingdong as a team were grouping up, and now they're about to take this dragon.
There's no sign of Jarvan there just yet. On the side, it's Zoom. He's got flash. Is he going to go for the big slam? Not quite. He pins him back against the wall. Karen goes in. Chocho flashes away from the slam of zone. Clid in the back line, trying to fire across. RD doing some big damage in the front, but is it enough as TOP just stack up their health bars, and they're going to bring down 1, 2, 3 members. RD and Yagao forced to turn and run.
That was a really early ulti coming out of Lumao. So he found himself vulnerable with the rest of his team. Zoom's dead, he's dead. It was because that Jingdong couldn't find an opening in that fight. He uses ulti where they cannot follow up. So TOP takes some time, and they were able to take it out in the end.
Immediately walking up towards the Baron, the Demacian standard, and teleport to get Corrin in. Now Clid, he's over the wall. Sweeper is going to provide some temporary vision. RD is stepping up with Yagao, trapped for the headshot, but Yagao heals himself back up. 4,000 health. Clid, 12 versus level 12. Cataclysm onto RD. He flashes back onto the trap. Still Clid. He's trying to make up his mind. His AD carry is dead. They turn back onto the Baron, but Clid's got his eyes on the prize. Is he going to leap in? He does. It does not get the steal, though. Tries and misses. TOP, 11 kills to 4.
I feel like that was the first time in a Jingdong game the team that started the Baron was the team that got the Baron.
And Yagao will die as well. Hemoplague for the attempt, but 12 kills to 5, 26 minutes in. Jingdong, with a bit of disrespect, now find themselves struggling against the likes of TOP.
Yeah, and you know what? They had to do it. Look at this fight. Started it all off. The fact that Jingdong were looking for this fight. They wanted the fight. They had the Tark available to themselves. The moment they stunned Chocho, they thought they were going to be able to get it. But that's the problem. Chocho was able to get out. Tark is left without an ultimate. And so the entirety of TOP, recognizing that it's Jingdong that are now completely vulnerable in the position, you jump him down, go towards Baron, and it's a free one for you. Really well played on the side of TOP from that point forward.
Now we've got a full 5 minion waves, 2.5 minutes that JD need to defend if they want to try to stay even in this, but it's just going to become more and more difficult from here on out. Banner of Command completed for Phage. Rabadon's Death Cap for Corrin. 3-item Caitlyn plus a Vamp Scepter to heal all the way back up.
It's a very easy composition to dive with. Very easy composition to dive, especially knowing that Clid is on the Kha'Zix pick. Doesn't have GA yet with how far behind he's been. So you jump in, he's not going to be a part of it.
First wave crashes and is defended. That said, that was the banner just being used. Thomas the Tank, the ban and minion, starts shooting across, and there is nothing JD can do. Even with Zoom and Meganar, there is no chance.
The wave is so healthy too, they'll move on to the next one. So it's up to Jingdong to draw the line somewhere. And look at where Zoom is. He's heading back to base. They will lose this tower 100%.
He's holding on to teleport, but like you said, there is no way for them to get up. Clid tries to step forward, but is zoned away by Marin and Phage. As TOP act as bodyguards for this minion. One final shot, and it breaks down. The inhibitor line has been cracked apart by TOP.
I mean, TOP smells blood right now. Jingdong are not going to move, so keep going, and they're going to get a free inhibitor off of it.
Another inhib will fall in this series. TOP's first here in this game too. Already you can see Clid making his way over to try and defend by clearing out the wave preemptively, but TOP just swing on over.
TOP should feel comfortable with Caitlyn nearly having her flash up. She already has the QSS, so they're not going to be too worried about her stepping up towards the tower. So if Jingdong ever look to get to the #1 damage dealer here in TOP, you're going to have problems.
Now TOP pushing up to the next inhibitor, just wave after wave. Marin even going to help take a few hits so Chocho can headshot a turret.
It needs to be Zoom that finds himself in the fight because he's exhausted though, not getting any Mega Nar bar. It's going to be hard to start this one off.
Dazzle onto Marin, Clid on the side. That's Ghost being used. Yagao, he's caught by the charm. He's going to try to get some damage here as he steps in. He's found Corrin. Cosmic Radiance, but immediately the Cataclysm pens him into place. Zanya stalls out the duration of the ultimate from the side. Clid looks for damage, but Chocho is still firing, like you said, holding on to his heal, holding on to his cleanse.
There's no way for Nar to jump in. Got Braum ultied, and on top of that, the Tark ulti used again, but completely nullified by Karn, as you mentioned. So TOP just running Jingdong around. Really well played way to disengage, even chasing them down just a little bit, knowing that the resources weren't there for JD.
Now 30 minutes into the game, though JD have got 3 dragons with the next one about to spawn. They have no presence on the map. You can see their ward line has fallen all the way back to their inhibitor. Barely a single one at the blue and that wolf camp. And already TOP pinging onto that dragon. They know they've got Jingdong on the ropes. They just need to close out this game to bring us to game 3.
Yeah, and it's kind of a good bridge to the next objective for themselves. I mean, they're picking up the top lane, but it's going to take a long time before Galio moves that towards the inner tower there. So just taking the dragon. Wait a minute, that's a flank.
That's a teleport flash, but Yagao now walks into Marin. That's Ignite, immediately used. He drops into Sanguine Pool. Redemption. Ooh, is not going to drop in time. Chocho with the headshot. 4-item Caitlyn.
Yeah, and with that pick, they don't even have to think about the top lane anymore. In fact, Galio says, I'm moving away from that. We could take the win. Let's move towards the second inhib.
With Yagao gone, it's 4 versus 5. Grand entrance from Korn can get him in. Sorry, Hero's entrance can get him in there very quick. But another inhibitor breaks. And Chocho will be escorted away.
I mean, they're pinging it through. This is a bit of confusion on the side of TOP. They're just going to have to double down there. Here we go.
Meganar
5 members.
Ready for zoom, but there are no walls to pin TOP against. Banner onto the caster minion. Chocho's going to start doing damage to the Nexus turrets. 10 seconds before Yagao is back up. The first one has been shattered, and TOP still moving forward. Jingdong giving up ground here, but they're running out of ground to give.
They lost the window with Zoom losing Meganar, so it's just going to be any bit of damage. Hopefully Yagao opens this one up.
Onto Marin, they've caught Karin. He dashes back. Yagao back up, immediately forced to retreat. Back onto the fountain. Good damage, but he dies. Chocho goes in. Hemoplague tries to turn it around, but RD forced to back away. Raz, TOP, they could be looking for their 3rd win here as they are finishing off Jingdong. They turn onto the Nexus. Hero's entrance just for the style points as it is going to be shattered. And TOP bring us to a game 3.
It's looking to be familiar ground for TOP. They find themselves in these game 3s quite a bit. EDG comes to mind. Suning comes to mind. It's about finishing it off and finding your 3rd victory. TOP wants that opportunity, and they have it.
TOP able to restabilize themselves with a very aggressive composition. They find Jingdong unable to respond and pull them apart at the seams. I mean, it seems as though TOP just had the read on JD this game.
Yeah, some people out there, these Twitter analysts, will come out and be like, well, how did Galio come through? Immediately, Galio, blame that coach. What is he doing? And that's slightly fair. But I want to bring it down to the fact that TOP were a lot more active, a lot more aggressive, a lot more decisive. Specifically, the one that comes to mind was when they were able to get EQ combination with Jarvan right on top of the 2 members, able to get the AD carry and support immediately before the TPs came through. This is a TOP that definitely recognized from game 1 to game 2 that they needed to be making the first punch. They saw the control wards that they were able to place down, and they backed them up. Really good plays from TOP, and I want to see that again in Game 3.
And I think that's the biggest change that you brought up there, that TOP were the ones who were punching first. Karin specifically on that Jarvan, actually stepping up and finding the Cataclysm, finding the knockups onto Klid, finding the knockups onto Yagao, and just forcing those lane advantages for Korn to magnify and multiply.
Yeah, we finally get to see Marin away from the carry.
Yeah.
On a tank. And so we see real direction coming from the team, so they can play out these team fights a lot better when they recognize that they have a lot more frontliners for Chocho to step up.
Mm-hmm. And we saw the results of what happens when Chocho is allowed to. That said, it's now time for our analyst to break down that game too.
I'm going to pick it up where Raz left it there. Marin was on a tank, and that seemed to be JDG's entire draft phase. Get Marin off something he can play and carry with, and hope that works out. It doesn't work.
Yeah, so let's break down Jingdong's draft here. Look at that team composition. Nobody knows what that team composition does. It has no focus whatsoever. And if you look at the sequence of it, it really does seem like the only thing they were trying to do was keep Marin on that Scion pick. They thought, hey, if he's on that Scion, he's not going to be able to carry. So they took away his Rumble, they took away his Swain, they first picked into the Gnar and Vladimir, and they also banned away the potential Camille. So everything is just to keep him away from carry champions that could influence the game, but they didn't really have a theme on their own.
Because if you look at JDG's draft session, like, you know, Gnar and Vladimir makes sense. It's something he can dive into the backlines very well. Varus is a very good bottom lane, has good lane priority. You combo that with a Tarek. Tarek has decent laning phase, can help out with a dive. You throw a Kha'Zix in there, and you're like, what is he doing? Like-
that was such a head
Why
scratcher.
is Kha'Zix here?
He has Sejuani, Olaf, and Skarner, and he goes for Kha'Zix. Like Kha'Zix is a pick that you want to take if you feel like you're very, very confident in your mid lane and jungle duo. But that wasn't the case. Karin and Korn actually outplayed that, and they didn't have a pushing mid laner to begin with. So it's bizarre. It's hubris. I actually feel like Jingdong is they feel like they can win just by taking away win conditions from TOP.
Hate to break it to you, but if you look at the top side of the map coming out from TOP, you've got a Sion, a Galio, as well as a Jarvan. I'm not quite sure where Kha'Zix is going to really fit in and do something in the mid game there. But something that TOP start to respect is the bottom lane duo coming out from JDG, because 2 games in a row now, there have been solo kills in that bottom lane.
Yeah, so this is a big problem for TOP. They're running a composition that gets their main source of damage from Chocho. However, he continues to lose the 2v2 in lane. Big source of worry for them. I can understand their composition. They're building around the Caitlyn. Yeah. They're giving Jarvan to her, which gives that standard 50% attack speed later in the game. That's why you take the Jarvan over the Olaf in that scenario. But still, like, this is not supposed to be something that works for TOP because they're playing around one of the weakest lanes in the LPL.
But something they were able to do quite effectively was shut down that lane.
Yeah.
Artie got ganked constantly. He was flashing onto Caitlyn traps for some reason. I don't know why still, but he was. And they were punishing that bottom lane, getting them ahead through that. And when they shut down the Varus, there was no way for JDG to deal with the frontline tanks that TOP had, because they had a lot of them.
Yeah, and this is the big thing about TOP's game plan. I feel like one thing they did really well was that they read the situation. Jingdong wanted to split them up, use the Kha'Zix, use the split push, but they were like, no, we're going to use the Galio as a split pusher, and he's going to come into fights whenever.
And again, this entire fight, JDG tried to play it front to back. You could see Marin try to... Not Marin, so you could see Yakar try to go to dive. You could see Zoom try and go to dive as well. And Clid was just standing on the sidelines going, I'm Kha'Zix, guys.
Hey, you got 2 Ws off. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Pretty much it. JDG's team comp just didn't work too well. But
yeah.
TOP, once again, they executed a very similar strategy, which they wanted to go to in Siege. They had a lot of tanks, which didn't bite them in the backside in that match. They were able to use it quite effectively. And this time around, like Raz was saying, they were able to access the turrets first and make sure that TOP could be proactive, which is what we said was their key to victory in game number 1 that they didn't execute on.
When you want to play a Siege composition, you always want to be the one that groups up first, and they did that very well. Sion was very far behind in lane, but the stand-up out player for me was Korn. He did not fold to the pressure coming out from either Yagao or the Kha'Zix picks from Clit. He actually held his ground, and he did well.
And we can start on that as well, the top side of the map. The fact that we saw Mara being bullied by a Gnar, and we normally see Silence being able to push in against a Gnar. He went for Airy, he didn't resort to the fleet footwork, and he was still able to punish that lane quite effectively.
Zoom did that very well, so he actually forced a teleport out from Marin early on. That's not supposed to happen in the matchup, and you can see that maybe this was Jingdong's idea, that they knew that Zoom was good enough and Kha'Zix could play around the top side and they could force that. However, TOP has been outdrafting them so far in the series. They countered that strategy perfectly. It's not only about the Marin, it's about how much we can get Chocho to deal damage and play around him as a tank composition.
And the main catalyst coming out for TOP was their jungler Karin, picking up Jarvan in this match and also the MVP for game number 2, tying up the series 1-1. Phenomenal performance coming out from him, but now there's a lot of questions towards JDG. We just watched Suning take down Rogue Warriors in a clean 2-0. JDG have the head-to-head against Suning. If they lose here to TOP, they will be 2 games behind them.
Yes, that's they're actually already 2 games behind. They were 1 game behind, and already Suning picked up a game. They need to win here, or they're going to fall 3 games behind. So that's almost no return for Jingdong. And honestly, with the way they're playing, they actually don't deserve to win.
And right now, TOP are drafting so much better than JDG. We're going to go to a very quick break, but we get back with game number 3 in just a bit.